Call to order the November 18th, 2019 regular meeting of the Village Board of Trustees. Pledge to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for coming out in the rain. Approval of minutes from 10/21/19. We've had some back and forth about some changes. I think everything looks pretty good now. Any comments or requests for further changes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Approval of vouchers, reviewed and signed.
It's the abstract number 5, total $35,179.78.
Any comments? At the end, we're going to get through the agenda.
I know, but how can we ask about the vouchers after it's approved?
We're approving them. We can ask all the questions we want at the end.
All right.
All right. Any other questions or comments from the board on the vouchers? Is there a motion? Motion. Dave made it. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Correspondence?
So something new we have from Central Hudson this year. It looks like what they're doing is they're trying to look ahead and see like what kind of trees they can plant going forward, and that would work better in storms. It's just like more forward thinking as far as storm management goes. There's a lot of information. I made copies for everybody of this little flyer, front and back. So it's pretty important that everybody read it. There's information about tree damage that's related to storms, tree clearance during storms. There's all kinds of research that they've done, so I think that we're used to getting little blips from Central Hudson every month, and it's kind of repetitive, but this is something that I haven't seen before, so I think it's worth looking at. We got a letter from a resident, Marie Costello, up on Fishkill Road about Airbnb, and what she says is, as a follow-up to our telephone discussion on Monday, October 28th, I am writing to let you know that the owners of 40 Fishkill Road are advertising and renting at least one of the apartments in the house via Airbnb. I have a few issues with the property being used this way. The owner does not live in the house and is not present to address issues that arise. For example, last Friday evening, 6 cars arrived and one parked on my grass along the town garage side of my driveway, and another was partially blocking my driveway. Apparently, this is the little cottage that's right next to the highway garage, so their driveway comes down. It's kind of a shared driveway with that 2-family house. So the fact that it's a shared driveway, they start going up her driveway and then turn off to that house, and that's where they park. But it's her driveways, that they share. So anyway, she says this property does not have its own driveway, and there is an easement that allows access from my driveway to a parking area on their property. I have liability and damage concerns regarding my driveway/property. Who is responsible if someone gets hurt? Who will pay for damage to my property caused by casual renters? I feel that the use of this property as a casual rental is disruptive to my enjoyment of my own residential property, as now I need to worry about strangers next door, parking issues, noise issues, and any other issues that may arise as the owner is not present. Since I purchased my home in 2006, The 2 apartments in this house have been rented with leases. If I had any issues with the tenants, I was able to discuss a resolution with them. The house is currently empty and listed for sale with Houlihan Lawrence. Please let me know if the Nelsonville Village Code allows the property to be used in this manner. Respectfully, Maria F. Costello. And then we have another letter that came in from Costello and Volchetti, attorneys at law, to the mayor and the board of trustees. I am writing on behalf of my wife and client, Kathy Costello, who is the owner of 2 parcels of land in the village. These parcels are tax map 38.17-1-7, 12 Seacourt Street, and 5 North Pearl Street. According to the Putnam County Real Property Tax, the village owns 2 parcels of land adjoining these parcels, both are which are thickly forested. I am writing to put the village on notice of dangerous conditions posed by 2 dead and decaying trees on the village property. And the trees of concern are located, it describes like the location, there's 2 pictures. The trees pose a potential threat to my client's property should they fall and land on my client's property and structures. The tree adjacent to 12 Seacourt Street property has already dropped several limbs which have landed on my client's property. Both trees are of such height that if they fall towards my client's properties, they can damage the structures located upon them. Please address the situation at your earliest convenience and forward this correspondence to your insurance carrier so that they are on notice as well. If you wish to discuss this matter, I will make myself available to meet with you at your convenience. Thank you in advance for your cooperation. So, by order of the mayor and the board, we're going to have Phillipstown Tree assess the situation, and we'll do what needs to be done. And that is it for correspondence.
And the Airbnb letter, I believe that's the first official written
Yes.
complaint that we've received, and our attorney still is reviewing Airbnb standards that have been passed in adjoining municipalities, and we are working on it. But beyond that, I guess that's it. Old business, Bank Street paving. You want to talk about that?
Gonna do it in the spring. The estimates we got were kind of late. And it wasn't really as to what they had supposed to go and do with a spec. So I'm gonna give them a spec in the spring and go for it then. And get 3 estimates on it. Because it's just, if it got to be too late now, to go say now to go and do it, get frost in the ground. So it's really not worth to go and do it now. So just gonna basically patch what's down there and then get it in the spring.
All right. Agenda item number 6, winter parking, goes into effect on December 1st, 2019. Do you want to review the rules and
Okay.
contact?
So basically, at after 5 o'clock, when inclement weather is expected, you can call the village office, 265-2500. There will be a recording that says whether village parking is permitted on the streets or not. And if not, then, again, the Masonic Temple Lodge, but the cars have to be moved by 9 a.m.?
9 a.m.
9
Says
a.m.
on the sign,
So that that too can be cleared, in the morning. Other than that, we try. I know Mark tries not to call for no street parking as much as possible. Like, he doesn't like to force people not to park on the streets. Like, it doesn't give him any pleasure to do that. So he tries really hard not to impose that. So just know, like, if in fact it is put into effect, there's a good reason for it. So nobody wants to do that and inconvenience people and see people walking in the snow and moving their cars, but
The signs have been posted.
yes, the signs are posted.
It will be enforced.
Yes, the sheriffs. All we have to do is let them know that they're all posted, and they should take over from there. We have to let them know when it's in effect also, so that they can. But the sheriff said as long as all the ingress and egress roads are marked, they will enforce the parking.
And I don't think we want to push the enforcement unless it becomes a problem. So
Did we get the other signs as well, the children at play?
They're
All the signs
Yeah.
are
they're
up.
all up.
Great.
Let me just ask a quick question.
Oh, behind you had, she had her hand up first. Go for it, real quick.
That's okay, go ahead.
There, Frank.
Coming out. This law pertains to parking on village streets.
Yes.
And State Road. All of them.
Now it's state roads too?
It takes in all the roads in Nelsonville.
Okay.
State, county, and all.
Because I know that a lot of people park out here in front
They don't want
when
no
they're
more.
long.
No,
I mean-
now the signs state,
Yeah, 'cause they were
all
buried.
roads in the village. Doesn't matter who's the state road, county road, or it's village road. Takes in all.
You sure?
Yep.
Let them write a ticket, that's all.
So I live at 6 Fishkill Road.
Yep.
And I don't have a parking spot, but I park across the
No,
road.
you park when you walk across the street, yeah.
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 So
Do I
it's-
have to move my car?
No.
That's off the road.
No.
It's off the road. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's all.
Alan?
I didn't, I drive that route every day. I didn't see a sign on Fishkill or Peekskill Road
Yeah, there is,
coming into the village.
coming into the village.
They're there.
Yeah. It's Peekskill, this one, it's not Peekskill. It's on the end. When you first come in, it's not when you first come in, you go down a little ways, it's in there.
Okay.
It's one sign.
Can we post this up on the webpage and Facebook? Just a reminder of regulations, very bold. And,
With the phone number to call.
Yeah.
and then it'll also be on there, if in addition to the phone, we'll try to get it up there onto the Facebook page as well, whenever it's put into effect.
Yeah, I'll make like a flyer thing and we'll put it there. Both places.
We'll check that sign tomorrow and see if it's up. It should be. It was up. That's what
I
we
didn't
want.
see it either,
Because
and I
I see the
travel it
Welcome
every
to the
day.
Village of Nelsonville sign, and I haven't seen a winter parking sign.
It's
Because
after.
we bought signs for
Yeah, we
what
only
wasn't
needed-
there, yeah.
We only needed two. Peekskill, Main Street had them. Peekskill and Fishkill didn't have them. Now he's supposed to, we have one, we bought three, right? We have one left, so we had to put it up out there. We'll go
Oh,
by
we'll
tomorrow and
double
check.
check.
It should be, I'm pretty sure
If
it's
it's
up.
not, put it up.
Okay, I didn't see it.
Agenda item 7, the leaf pickup.
Okay, also, Mark is going to do a leaf pickup during the week of December 1st. So that starts the weekend right after Thanksgiving. And just bag your leaves, leave them out front of the house. He will traipse through the village with the truck and pick them all up and take them and either crush them or compost them or dispose of
Does
them,
it matter
whatever
if
he
they are
does.
bagged in paper bags or plastic?
He does not care.
All right.
Whatever. Mark is not that particular. So it's for that whole week, from Sunday to Saturday. And I believe that's it.
All right. Next agenda item is presentation by Jeff Demansky. Follow-up to the CCA Community Choice Aggregation, which is basically a choice of where our power comes from, renewable versus Central Hudson, and where that comes from.
When you say our, you mean individual citizens or the village?
So the way it's being presented is it will go into effect for the village, and then individual residents have the option to opt out.
Is it possible I'm already in this? I'm forgetting
It's
the
possible.
Phillipstown did it.
Phillipstown did
and
it.
they kind of overstepped their old boundaries. some
Yeah,
places.
we're one of the holdouts.
Okay.
Yep, you're on.
So I'm Jeff Szymanski. I run a not-for-profit called Hudson Valley Energy, and I'm partnered with the administrator, one of the 4 approved administrators to do community choice aggregation in the state. And I'll explain about the partnership and how this is a partnership program. But this is what I plan to do in about the next 10 to 15 minutes. We'll do a number of slides on what is community choice aggregation, what is this program. And then the second bullet is the Hudson Valley Community Power CCA program. So Hudson Valley Community Power, that term at the top, that's our version of community choice aggregation. And Hudson Valley Community Power is the partnership of the municipalities, of the administrator they chose, of my organization doing support, and the supplier, the electricity supplier that's chosen by that team. And then I'll talk about process, or there are some slides in process that might get a little detail-y, but I'll explain where we are in the process and what the next steps are. And then I have one slide, might be out of order, on just one slide on frequent questions that are asked, just to clarify. It's kind of a review of everything I talked about. So what is it? A little tall there. But what is CCA is the top of the slide. And in essence, it's in one sentence, it's a policy that enables cities and towns and villages to act on their citizens and small businesses' behalf to choose energy as an option. The program is called Community Choice Aggregation. So it's about communities having a choice and creating a choice for their citizens. And the aggregation term means that we have to get enough people together, enough households together, to have leverage in the marketplace to get what we're looking for. And so it was enabled by a state regulation in April of 2016. So it is a state policy. It's not a state program, but it's enabled by the state in April 2016. And it's allowed to operate, as was mentioned, as an opt-out program. With that leverage, we're able to get the three public benefit win-win-wins that we're looking for through this program. Saving money is one of the goals of the program. Promoting clean energy in the state is another goal. And consumer protection is a very big part of the program. And I'll speak about that coming up. But because it is structured to provide those three benefits in one package, it is allowed to operate on that opt-out manner, meaning people have to choose not to be in it. It is like a public benefit, like a public tennis court or a public swimming pool. It's created where anybody in the community that's doing this can take advantage of it. But just like if you don't want to play tennis or you don't want to go swimming, you can say, I don't want to go in there, and you can choose to get out. But it is that opposite thing. If you don't choose to be in it, you have to choose not to be in it. So this is a busier slide from your distance, but it's what is community choice aggregation, and it's a state priority. It's a very powerful tool to reach the goals that the state is looking to achieve in terms of promoting clean energy and addressing climate change, the climate change crisis. What's shown up on the slide is a program of one of the state agencies that focuses on clean energy and energy efficiency and sustainability more largely. And it's a program called the Clean Energy Communities Program, another acronym. I'm full of three-letter acronyms tonight. But and I won't even tell you what NYSERDA is, but that's the state agency. It's just going to go on and on. But in essence, this is a program for towns and cities and villages. And they tried to make it simple. They said there's 10 things every town and city and village should look at doing, including benchmarking, understanding how much they're emitting, looking at their fleets, improving their fleets, making them more fuel efficient, changing street lights to LED lights. But there on the list, highlighted in blue and bold, is community choice aggregation. And it's no certain order because the manager of this program said, in no uncertain terms, that CCA, community choice aggregation, is far and away the most powerful of all those 10 strategies for what a municipality can do to address climate change. This is very busy, but it's a snippet of an article, and it kind of cuts off. But the exciting phrase on this phrase is $1.4 billion. And this is an article about the last state budget that passed back in the spring. And the upshot of this article, this snippet, is saying that the state sees community choice aggregation programs, which are enabled by cities and towns and villages, as a way to get us to the future grid that we need. And they included in the state budget $1.4 billion to both create new renewable facilities in the state, which can only sell their power through CCA communities. So they really see that this is powerful. One of the biggest players in the state is an organization called NYPA, the New York Power Authority. They own most of the hydropower production in the state already. They have fantastic favorable financing, so a lot of that money will go to them to create that. And they've not been able to sell to private citizens because they didn't want to compete with the marketplace. But CCAs are that vehicle, and so it's going to be further advancing the win-win-win aspect of this program. With all this renewable power coming on, it's likely to be even cheaper than fossil fuels, and it's going to be only available through CCA communities. So still on this thing of what is CCA, what are we talking about? This is a snippet of a Central Hudson utility bill. And I put it up here for a couple of reasons. One, to emphasize that a lot of people don't realize that your utility bill, your electricity bill, is two bills in one. There's a delivery section, you get charged for delivery, and that's what Central Hudson and the utility companies are allowed to make money on. There's also a supply section. Since the late 1990s, the utilities, because of something called deregulation, they broke up the monopoly that utilities have, so they're not allowed to make money on the supply. So supply is an open marketplace, and the utilities do this. If you don't make a decision, the utilities make a decision for you on a month-to-month basis, and the price will fluctuate in the supply section. For our program, this community choice aggregation, we're only talking about a change to the utility bill in the supply section. So in essence, instead of having the utility company make that choice for you, you go with what the town, or these collections of towns and cities and villages have chosen. And it actually, this is my bill, and it shows that I'm in the program. And so there's that one down here, it shows you, like a shadow show, but if you're in the program, it says electricity supply rates, your electric supplier is Direct Energy. And when I pull up the title slide in this section, I'll show you that Direct Energy is the supplier that we selected for the program. And did I cut off the rate? It's off to the right there, but the rate is 6.36 cents. I'll talk about prices in a second. So again, though, we're only talking about the supply portion of the bill. Central Hudson still makes money on the delivery. And so one of the frequently asked questions we get is, like, are you replacing my utility company if we're in this program? And we're not. Central Hudson is a partner in this program. You know, we couldn't do it without them because they own the utility lines, they own the meter on your house, they own the transfer stations. And so they're very important for this program. And so we're just changing the line item for supply. This is another screenshot from my computer. That supply section. I mentioned deregulation. It created a marketplace where anybody could make a choice for supply. Again, if you don't make any choice as a customer in Central Hudson territory, then Central Hudson makes your decision on a month-to-month basis. But because of deregulation in the late 1990s, there are numerous companies out there that will offer you an individual contract for a different supply source. And there are different reasons that companies do that. Some of them offer cheaper energy than the utility companies. So many companies, and it shows on here, if you can read it, about 33 companies when I last looked offered green opportunities for me, green electricity options. And this has been an opportunity available. There's more than 80 companies that will do this, and anybody could do this at any time. There are many wonderful companies out there. Many of you may have made this decision too. Some of you might be in an individual contract to be with an alternative supplier. Great companies out there, but what I found in the outreach I've done, and we've handled more than 3,000 interactions with folks since we launched this program back in the spring of this year. If you haven't had a bad experience with one of these individual companies, there are many great ones. But if you haven't had a bad experience, then you know somebody who has had a bad experience. They offer fixed rates that sometimes turn variable. There's exit fees on contracts. There's a lot of things, a lot of details to look at. So there's multiple purposes for this slide. It's to emphasize that you do have individual choice. So there is still choice in all of this program. If Nelsonville decides to launch the program, there will be a rate, and I'll talk about the rates in a second, that will be available for people to take advantage of. But people can say, I don't want that. They can stay with the utility company, or they could get into an individual contract. So there's many options out there. So this idea is that this program is offering one additional option that is structured to be that win-win-win. It's very importantly, when the contract that takes place is at the municipal level. So when we're talking about the public benefit, nobody is in a contract. All of these options require an individual contract. Some of them are hard to get out of, and some of them have exit fees for them. In our program, in community choice aggregation, there's no exit fees. It's really like a public benefit where you can get in and get out at any time. So this is a little bit hidden there, but this is the title slide that I usually start with, but it's emphasizing that the program is a partnership. And so a lot of the good detail is down in the lower left. So there's Hudson Valley Community Power, that's the program name. There's a website where you can find out more information about us. But these over here, in this lower left corner, are all the partners in the program. And I think one is hidden by the corner of the desk there, but there's 10 municipalities that are currently or about to be part of our aggregation. So it's the city of Beacon, it's the city of Poughkeepsie, the town of Fishkill, Phillipstown and Cold Spring are in, Marbletown over in Ulster County, and as of Friday, the town and village of New Paltz joined, and the town of Red Hook. And the last one is the town of Clinton in northern Dutchess, and they're working on joining right now, going through the approval process. So in the hard-to-see lower left corner, there's a word, Joule, that's Joule. That's the administrator that these towns all chose to basically do the technical component of the program. Hudson Valley, you can see that, but it says Energy down below. That's my nonprofit. And then again, the promised Direct Energy is the orange logo right there. but all of it together is Hudson Valley Community Power. So this really is a partnership program. These are the rates in the live program. The bounty line is the period, a 12-month period going back to April of 2018 and to the right side to March of 2019. That is Central Hudson's price on a month-to-month period. The average of that price is the orange line, the top line, the straight top line, which is 6.87 cents per kilowatt hour. So that was the 12-month average benchmark price that when we issued a request for proposal for suppliers, we said you have to beat that price with a fixed price that is one option, at least has to be 100% clean energy. And by state regulation, that clean energy, any clean energy sold through a community choice aggregation program has to be generated in New York State or an adjoining territory or state, delivered directly into New York State. So it's fantastic in that this does have immediate impacts on the fuel mix of the state. We got what we were looking for. The two cells in the middle there of the table, 6.36 cents on the top is our 100% clean energy package. It's a fixed rate for the duration of the contract. And when we did this for the 6 original communities, it was a 2-year contract. The 2 New Paltzes and Red Hook are joining just now, so they're going to be able to take advantage of 18 months of the contract because we're about 6 months in already. The lower cell, 6.08 cents, is a standard rate. It's not a completely renewable package. It's more mirroring what the utility provides on a month-to-month basis. There's some renewables in there, but no more than roughly about 20%. That's a lot of gas and nuclear in there as well. But it's offered to people as another choice. So a municipality, when they join the program, they have to decide what the default choice is. If somebody's in the program and they make no action beyond that, what do they get? All the communities that we're dealing with have chosen the 100% renewable option as a default, which is very powerful. It means that 90+% of all the residents in our communities are paying for only 100% clean energy. But anybody could at any time say, I want the standard rate if they want to save a little bit more money. The savings, well, there's a comparison to the benchmark on the far right, that half a penny, 0.49 cents. But to do give you an annual feeling of the savings, the difference between the benchmark and our 100% renewable rates, it's not going to get you a new vacation, a vacation or a new house or a new car. It's about $40 to $50 for the average household over a year. But that's comparing our 100% renewable to the benchmark, which is not renewable. Just to give you a sense of the scale of the benefit. And to go to the standard rate is only about $5 to $10 additional savings per year. So that's when we started.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, definitely.
So my understanding from Roberto is that if you want to opt out, everybody gets, and we say we would like to do a CCA.
Yep.
Then people get a letter, and if they'd like to stay with Central Hudson, they sign the letter, and if they want to go with the CCA, they don't.
Nothing.
They
Right.
do nothing.
Right.
What about, are we voting here for 100% renewable or the standard fixed, and that would be the choice we would make for everyone in terms of the CCA?
For the default choice. You don't have to do that immediately tonight. But if you decide to pass the law and select Juul, but that's a decision you would have to make for when we, and I do talk about the steps of the program, but when the letter is distributed, we have to decide what the default choice is for the residents.
But
And
we're
there-
making that for everybody.
You would be making that as the default choice, that if nobody
All right.
made a decision, that's what they would get.
To be clear,
Yes.
if one didn't opt out when they got that first letter and a year later wanted to opt out, no problem.
Absolutely no problem, anytime, yes. It takes about 1 billing cycle to get out of the program or back into it.
I had an experience with an ESCO, and hidden charges,
Yeah.
impossible to get out. This sounds like
Well, this
Great
is,
alternative.
the state has heard all those complaints from numerous people and targeted vulnerable populations like the elderly and English as a second language community. And this is like one of the most powerful responses they have, is they're encouraging communities to create this no funny business, flat, simple package as an option. And just transparency, so that's what we did with the RFP. We got those rates to comparison to the benchmark. So how are we doing in our first few months of the program? In August, when the rates started to go on customers' bills, we were doing well. We were below the Central Hudson rate. But Central Hudson is driving me crazy in September, and I think it's supposed to be October, but they actually have it written as September as well. So this, you can see the bouncy line goes below our price that we achieved, which is the second line. The lower line below is the 6.36 cents line in the past. So this is not guaranteed to be a savings. But we do anticipate, and I'll talk about another program that's structured just like this that has been very beneficial. But there are months when Central Hudson's rates will be lower. And we are coming out of a very relatively mild summer, which I think was one of the factors that led to lower rates from Central Hudson. So their September rate and what I believe is supposed to be the October rate is lower than our rates. But again, that is those numbers on the top, the August, September, and the quote-unquote September rate, are the utility mix that's not 100% clean energy. If you cast your minds back to that one slide where I talked about the consumer choice with all the companies that can get you into contracts, I did a quick analysis of all the opportunities that were 100% clean from that page, and I found that the average was 7.5 cents, that number right there, which is definitely higher than our 6.36 cents. But again, that 7.5 cents often comes with a minimum term. You can't just get out at any time. There's an exit fee that you don't know exactly where the power is coming from. There's a lot of things you have to dig into. So it is still structured and anticipated to be a really beneficial program. All right, so then just quickly, this is one slide on a program that launched in May of 2016. It was considered the pilot program in the state. If you remember that this program, CCA, was enabled in April 2016. This program in Westchester launched in May 2016. Very similar difference in prices. It's Con Ed territory and a bit of NYSEG. But the differences between the benchmark and the program rates were very similar to ours. They did 2 years of the program, and they did it again because it was so beneficial. And over the period of May 2016 through December 2018, the last time they did an analysis, it saved collectively about $15 million for all the residents of the communities. And the majority of all communities chose the 100% renewable as that option. So that $15 million is still with people in that apples to oranges comparison. That's $15 million in savings with people, majority, 90% plus, choosing 100% renewable energy, sourcing from New York State. So to your question, you said how to get out of the program. This is just a snippet of what it looks like in the letter that goes out. My job, I have numerous jobs in supporting the program, but one of my jobs is to make it very easy for people to get out of the program if they want to. And so when there's options, more than one option that we offer. There's a mailing, a self-addressed, self-postage paid envelope in the mailing that will go out to everybody. That's it. You just sign it, stick it in the envelope, and send it back, and you can opt out of the program without ever getting into the program. At any time, you can call us on the program number right there, and there's also a form that can be filled out at the website. So there's multiple options to get out. And then here's my kind of review slide. And then after this is some details of process that we don't need to dive into. But, so these are the common questions that were asked. Does this replace my utility company? Absolutely not. It's all through the utility bill. It's a line item change on the utility bill. Central Hudson will still do the billing, still does repair service, and still send you the bill. So why are you doing this? How can you do this? We get that question frequently from people like, why didn't you just leave good enough alone? Why are you doing this? Again, it's because it is a public benefit. Structured to get those three win-win-win benefits of saving money, promoting clean energy in the state, changing the fuel mix, and protecting consumers from bad experiences. So will it save money? It's not guaranteed, but it is structured to save about 5 to 10% on the supply price for people versus, again, comparing that to the non-renewable mix that most people get from the utility. Am I locked into this for the duration of the contract? And I left up 2 years for those communities. No, to your point, sir, no one's ever locked in. You can exit at any time. There's no fees to do so. What happens after 2 years? Does the rate go crazy? Because some people are used to that experience with ESCOs, where they get a fixed period and then suddenly it just goes nuts. For better or for worse, and this is part of the consumer protection aspect of the program, it ends after 2 years. The communities can repeat it. That's the last 2 words on that answer. They can go through the whole process again of issuing letters and letting everyone know what's been decided. But it has to be a public process again. It's not an automatic lock-in, which is like your cell phone contract where you don't know how to get out of it or when it ends. And so where does the energy come from? The renewable energy has to come from New York State by regulation, so we're only paying from New York Energy. I'm going to lift up my projector. And the last thing is there is an ability to actually make the benefit more local. Jewel is that the organization that is the administrator that I'm working with asked for a lot in their implementation plan. And there is a requirement to file an implementation plan with the Public Service Commission to do this program. And so this idea of this municipal buying club is just the beginning. As an indication, they asked for the ability to promote local community solar through the program, and that's what we're doing, and many of you may have heard about this. Phillipstown has really embraced it, and there's been, we had public meetings on this, and a letter actually came from the supervisor there, letting people know that there is a way to sign on top of the CCA program. It's an additive benefit that does provide a guaranteed approximately 10% savings on the whole electricity bill. So it's a very good opportunity. And I can stop there, but I did have just 3 more slides on process. And I can just do them in brief, and we can come back to them.
Sure.
But the process for new communities, one is approving the local law. It has to be enabled. It's a home rule state, so it has to be enabled by a local law. It enables communities to do this. It does not lock them into doing it. There's lots of flexibility, right up until the end. The second step is selecting an administrator, or choosing to be their own administrator if they have enough leverage in the marketplace. And there's a lot of detail on the slide, but I'll point out that on this one, a couple of things. Basically, that administrator, and this is Jewel in the partnership I'm working with, they're the ones that handle the RFP. They keep an eye on the energy market. They bring in the additional elements that could be beneficial for the program. But again, selecting an administrator does not lock in the community to the program. It has to meet the requirements of what the community is looking for. And typically what we're looking for is those win-win-wins, something that's lower than the utility average, something that has complete flexibility for consumers, and the promotion of renewables. Once an administrator is selected, though, there is a requirement, and I spoke to Mindy about this, that the next thing we would need to do is a minimum of having 2 more public meetings, a minimum of 2 meetings, so that the public is, as best we can, informed about what's going to happen with this program. And so that's the process. Then the last step is identifying the terms and the suppliers and issuing the RFP. We are hopeful, since we are right next door to a number of communities that have done this, if there's interest in it by Nelsonville, that we can just jump on to the existing CCA at those prices that we saw. That's to be determined. We have to go through the public process of doing the public meetings, and then get approval by the Department of Public Service, at which point we can ask the existing supplier if we can just get in on that contract. But if that doesn't work out, and depending on timing and the desire of Nelsonville, we are actually launching with other communities. A bunch of communities in Orange and Rockland Territory are getting ready to launch in the spring, but there's a number of communities still in Central Hudson Territory that we anticipate will launch in 2020 as well. So it's not like, I don't want to be like a Ginsu night salesman saying you have to get in now or else you're not. There's going to be good opportunities in what we're doing. This is a very powerful platform. And then I just have resources that people, a bunch of things just generally to learn about CCA, and then my information is going to be available. And I'll definitely give these to you, Mindy, to distribute and share.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll leave it kind of in the process section, and I'm done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. Thanks, Jeff.
Any questions?
Any questions from the audience for CCA?
Yes.
I'm on a monthly,
It's fit the budget billing plan.
yeah, $140 a month.
Should be unaffected by this. It's any billing arrangement you have with Central Hudson stays in place.
Okay.
Yes.
I was curious with the consumer protection portion.
Yeah.
Is there, aside from getting automatically signed up, is there actually protection from those mailers and such that people still can get roped into a bad deal inadvertently?
Well, the program, there's a couple of things in that aspect of protection from ESCOs. It doesn't prevent anyone from knocking on your door, calling you, or sending you a mailer. But you should have confidence that once you're in the program, that you're kind of in the best option out there for what can be done, because you have complete flexibility, and it is through the leverage of this community, of the households, it's a very good price. But there is a lot of confusion out there. There's one particular company that looks like a very official state program that has confused people, and they actually did target their mailings to come out when we launched our program. So you still need to be an informed consumer about what's going on with the program. Being in the program, you should be protected from being slammed by another company, though. What I should point out in terms of eligible customers, the Central Hudson gives the list of eligible customers that we send the program letters to say, hey, you can do this or you can opt out of the program. But people who are automatically opted out, if you do have an existing contract with Green Mountain Energy or Meridian or Ambient or one of those companies, you're automatically opted out. So it's a bit, some people are upset to hear that, but you have to end that contract and then opt into our program. So, and if you're in a bill, if not the budget billing, but if you're in a bill paying assistance program like HEAP, then we can't automatically put you in because it's not a guaranteed savings program.
You mentioned solar. Is it putting the horse before the cart to ask you for details? You said Phillipstown already has.
For the community solar program?
Solar and some of the other neighboring towns.
No, it's actually, the community solar is something that the state sees CCA platform, where we are working in a partnership with municipalities as a way to point out that this community solar opportunity is pretty fantastic in what it is. There's no upfront money. It's just 10% savings. It's the same idea, no exit fees with the organizations that we've identified and working with. You don't have to be in a CCA community to take advantage of that. So I do encourage everyone to sign up for community solar because there's lots of good opportunities out there. The way we've structured it with the communities, we're actually giving a portion of like $50 per enrollment to create a sustainability fund within the communities. And so Phillipstown is going to be doing an education program on refrigerants. As far as Beacon is giving the money to the schools to do sustainability work.
Is this community solar, is it something that's up and running now that we could look into? Because I think this was your question as well. Like, is it just something like a great idea?
No, it is actually very
Or
good.
is it something that, me as a consumer can call Phillipstown and they'll give me an email address where I need to go and figure it out?
No, there's a number of community solar developers that have projects that they're filling right now, and many that have just launched. The one that we're currently partnered with is a company called Nexamp, and they have at least 4 sites in Central Hudson Territory. There was one on Route 9 up in Wappingers, and that's alive. That's filled, and that's actually one that I subscribed to back in February 2018, and that's actually just gone live. There's one up in the town of Rochester in Ulster County that they just finished and is going to go live in about a month and a half. And then there's another one up in Ulster County that they just finished as well. But then they have another one that's also in Ulster County that they're filling up now. And so these are going on people's utility bills imminently, with the savings. Yes?
You mentioned a couple of times that people can opt out whenever they want to. I'm
Yes.
just curious, why do people opt out? And do you have any anecdotal information about how many or?
Yeah, no, it's the typical opt-out rate is between 5 and 10% of a community. And there are various reasons. Some people just feel like they're being, the anecdote, one of the lovely anecdotal stories I'll tell you is that, we handle the phone calls coming in, my team and I, and, there are people that ask that question, why are you doing this, how can you do this? I'd say that there's probably, literally we have record now of about 3,600 interactions that we've had, and I'd say, I can almost remember there's a couple dozen that were very irate people. And of those, I'd say about half a dozen left, and we left the call staying irate. But it's been really wonderful to explain the program, and especially explaining that point where you're already in a program where somebody's making a decision for you. We're not making a decision for you in this program. We're giving you another choice. But by not making a choice, the utility company is making your month-to-month utility choice for you. And that often just calms the waters very right down. And so, yes.
The community solar
Yeah.
program that you mentioned. I'm new to this energy buying thing because I lived in a co-op in the city. I've never had to make this choice before. So is that similar to having solar panels on your roof?
It is. The state is pushing community solar. Folks may know that do you guys know that there's a big solar field at Dennings Point in Beacon? Mm-hmm. It's 11 acres. I'm a citizen of Beacon, so I was actually on the Conservation Advisory Committee and helped develop the RFP for that project. That's a project where the city leased the land to the developer, and they have an arrangement with the utility company to buy the power. So basically, no individual citizen is involved. The city of Beacon has a number of benefits from that. But the state, seeing the prospects for developing similar fields like that, realized that they wanted to bring the benefit of solar, basically, of renewable power to a larger swath of people. And so if you have solar on your house, you are not allowed to take advantage of community solar. But in essence, the state changed the incentive structure so that developers are much better off developing a field like that and then having to go through the community solar model, where they have to get subscribers. They have to assign that entire utility, that entire field of solar panels to individual residents. So in essence, they have to collect all the solar panels that would be on somebody's house and put it in the field. And in essence, people as subscribers own the entire field. And that way the benefit is spread out to people who can't or have not yet put solar on their own house. But in essence, it's the same structure in terms of benefit, in that it's a credit put on your utility bill, except there's no upfront money in this case. But it's structured as a monetary credit in that it is wonderfully structured to be a guaranteed savings. It's, there's some months when you have solar on your own house where you may not produce enough to counteract your own production. But in this case, it is just a monetary credit that's a benefit regardless.
I guess that was another question I had.
Yeah.
So is the supply a mixture of renewables? You mentioned hydro.
It is. For the community choice,
yep.
yep.
Wind also?
Yes, and it is for the most part. In New York State right now, there's a mandate that the power has to come, all the power sold through a community choice aggregation has to come from New York State or an adjoining territory putting into it. There is not really, at this point in time, no commercial scale solar selling into community choice aggregation programs. The renewable power in the state is certified hydropower, Low Impact Hydro Institute certified hydropower, and wind. And so that's mostly what we're supplying to the CCA right now. But with that $1.4 billion investment that the state is going to make, that mix is going to change. There will be commercial scale solar projects developed. And a lot more wind, as a matter of fact, too. The part of that 1.4 is to develop the offshore wind that they know is our greatest resource.
Any other questions? This is why we have the, we've had you back, we've had Roberto back, because we want to get as much of the questions answered as we can before we go forward. Yeah. Because I think a lot of, to answer Joe's question, a lot of people were opting out because it was kind of like a panic and kind of rumor mill going when Phillipstown did it, and they did a great job of answering it. The program worked out really well for Phillipstown and Cold Spring, and I hope it'll work out well for us.
The great thing about the program from my perspective, very selfishly, I was doing municipal sustainability work for many, many years before this program came along. And so the reason I'm involved in it is because I was finding a way to kind of basically share a resource across communities to help in sustainability and energy planning. And so I was a perfect fit. So beautifully, this program pays for my organization to be here throughout, and I'm here to answer questions to the end of the, ask me as many questions as you want, and I'm sticking around, and I'm right there in Beacon, so I'll come to your house for coffee if you really want me to. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
We need to do the election resolutions, too.
Yep.
Which isn't on the agenda, but it'll be item 9. So there's two resolutions, or one resolution that needs to be read for setting the election date for this year. Notice of annual village election. Notice is hereby given that the annual election of and for the village of Nelsonville, Putnam County, New York, will be held in said village at the Municipal Building, 258 Main Street, Pearl Street entrance on Wednesday, March 18th, 2020, with the polls open between the hours of noon and 9 p.m., and that at such election the following officers are to be elected for the terms set opposite hereto, respectively. Mayor, 2-year term. Trustee, 2-year term. Trustee, 2-year term, and Justice, 4-year term. Mindy Jessic, Village Clerk. So then the resolution we need to pass
is because the date changed to Wednesday because of St. Patrick's Day. Because it falls on
Really?
March 17th, they change it to Wednesday. Yes.
They don't want
All right.
to vote drunk?
I guess so. Election resolution. Whereas New York State Election Law 15-104 states, quote, in any village in which the general village election or a special village election for officers pursuant to this chapter is scheduled to be held on the third Tuesday of March for any year in which the 17th day of March shall fall on such Tuesday, the Board of Trustees of such village shall provide by resolution that such election shall be held on the 18th day of March. End of quote. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Election Day for the Village of Nelsonville's general election will be held as follows: March 18th, 2020, noon to 9 at the Village Municipal Building, 258 Main Street, Pearl Street entrance. Is there a motion?
Make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Motion passes.
Alan had a question.
Yeah.
Since you were filling in for the first year of Cockermisa's term,
Yep.
isn't the election in this coming one for 1 year, Mayor?
No.
I don't know, that's a good question.
No. No, you elect, that ends, he fills into the next election. Just to the very next village election, at which point you elect a new mayor. If that was the case, the acting mayor would stay acting mayor for Chris's whole term.
Yeah, that NICOM, it was the way when he resigned, the amount of term that was left, the way that it worked out.
Right, exactly. So it's as soon as there's the way it worked out, because he had done such a short period, the deputy or whoever took over for not the balance of that term, it's only until the next
general
village election.
Which is
So,
how New York State law is written.
right, that's exactly, we checked into it and double checked it.
Public comment? Anybody?
So who's Gloria Van Tassel, who's coming up then? We have Michael,
Me, Dave, and Chris. And Judge Zenz.
And Judge Zenz, yes.
Joe.
Atkins Secor Street.
Mhm.
Just wanted to follow up from last week's workshop.
Mhm.
It brought up more questions than it answered, so I'm going to email them to Mindy if that makes sense. And
Sure.
somebody can email me back. If they
Great.
want. But one thing that came out of it I thought was really important and interesting is the letter about diseased and dying trees on the street. I think that probably a really important action item came out of hearing the OSI lawyer talking about the responsibilities that they do or do not have. And I hope that I can find out a little bit about our insurance, because I'm also worried about liability and the expense of taking down trees, as we know, is a lot. So I had an idea that maybe someone on the board could facilitate a volunteer group for monitoring dead and diseased trees. It's really apparent there are a lot of citizen scientists here now. Really easy, not rocket science. You can tell a dead one, tell a diseased one from pretty far away. And I think that would be really, really useful to have a semi-annual or annual just walk. Walk on the trail and really the perimeter where people are living and could get hurt.
Yep.
I think that would be a really cool idea.
You're the liaison to the trail committee, so Kathleen Maloney would be a good contact. I know that there's a lot of people that would be interested.
is this open to the public now where we can ask questions? Okay, I didn't know where we're going. I do have quite a few questions, so I apologize. It's kind of following our meeting from last week, the workshop. The reason I asked about the vouchers, it was for like 37 or 39,000. Does that include the remaining amount of money paid to the attorney?
No.
Okay, I've spoken to Mindy twice, and she's very helpful. I wanted to FOIL request the copy of the bill for the 29,000, whatever it is. And she's telling me I can't have it because that has information on there that can be detrimental to the lawsuit or whatever is going on. I've never heard of such a thing.
We are acting on the advice of our insurance-appointed attorney that is to remain redacted until any discussions with Homeland conclude.
Because usually an itemized bill from Sam when I was on the school board just puts down when you talk to somebody, 15-minute conversation, and maybe the subject matter regarding, a tree falling.
I understand your curiosity and right to know, but in order to not jeopardize the standing of the village, I'm going to side with our attorney on this one for now.
Because when I look back, if I recall correctly, the board approved $10,000 with, I think it was the attorney, Terry Rice, or the most...
Todd Steckler.
Whoever it was, we would only pay $10,000. But any other monies to be paid would require board approval.
Right.
It seems as though we did stuff, but we didn't get board approval. You understand what I'm saying?
No, there
From a bill
was...
to go from 10 to 29, what happened?
There was many, many issues with our first insurance company appointed attorney, and that's part of it.
All right, and my next question is, at the last meeting, our village attorney wasn't here at the workshop, and Mindy explained to me, and hopefully he's all well. But who is our village attorney? Is it Bob Lusardi or this other gentleman?
Bob Luzardi's firm, Brian Morgan, his
Brian Morgan.
associate, is our village attorney. Well, he's handling the most of our caseload.
Our day-to-day stuff, yeah.
So Bob Lusardi's kind of stepped back?
Yeah, he wrote a letter to us back over the summer that he's slowly stepping out. I think he's, I don't want to put words in his mouth.
His
Yeah.
caseload.
I don't know if he's looking to retire or what he's doing, but he's has a reduced caseload.
All right. So my next question, I know Michael you said you spoke to NICOM, and this is where I wish an attorney was here. The ethical part with three of you being neighboring to this 4 acres of property. You said you spoke to him. Not that I don't believe you, but I want to see in black and white, or have our attorney. What does our attorney think? Does he think there's a conflict of interest
Absolutely not.
for 3 of the board members to be close to the property to approve the 4 acres of land?
We
Did they
have,
do it?
I see where you're going with this, but we have no direct financial benefit from any of it.
You don't?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. In your mind, you believe that, but you know,
Well, but
when it comes
it's a
down to
matter of the paradigm you're seeing this through. You see it from one way, I see it from another. You are assigning to me a motivation which doesn't exist, but that's your right to do so, I guess.
Right. I can, your motivation in running was it would be put up for a referendum. Am I right?
That was never mine. Absolutely not.
You never said.
No. Go back and look through all my campaign materials.
No, I might listen to the tapes of the recorded meetings because it was said it would go up for public referendum.
It was discussed, and it's being discussed with our attorney now, and it will be addressed.
As a referendum or as a board motion?
Not sure yet.
But the board will talk about that?
Yeah.
All right. If it comes down to, if a referendum did come up, in my mind, it would be probably go through. My concern is when we do the MOU or MOA, I like the one clause in there about the property, which is going to be revised if we need an artesian well. My other thoughts are...
That's the draft easement that you're talking about. The MOU is totally different.
Right, the two different. But my concern is, Michael, down the road, this property is valued at $200,000, which is about half of our village budget. It was valued, right? The 4 acres, $199 or something.
$190.
That's a lot of money.
Not taking into account any kind of encumbrances to the property in terms of it already being parkland, which technically it can't be sold. It would take an act of the New York State Legislature to overturn. That's what we're being told by our attorney.
Park alienation.
And this was a discussion that went back to the former mayor that him and I had with Bob Lusardi about whether that is actual parkland or not. It's on our trail maps for 20 years. In my mind, it's parkland.
I'm speechless. This is like the first time I'm hearing it.
We've discussed that for
I've heard
going
it.
back 18 months now.
But this being said, it never can be sold. I've never heard that.
It could technically be sold. You'd have to get New York State Legislature to remove the park designation on it, and then it would take a referendum of the village to approve the sale of the land. Because then you would be disposing of real property. Yep.
Then why would we need to have an agreement with OSI? That makes no sense.
For what?
Well, if you just said it cannot be, it's parkland,
Mhm.
and it would have to be revoked by the state,
Yeah.
why would we need another agreement?
To protect it to its furthest, in my mind, to the furthest extent that we could.
Automatically.
Because
apparently.
tomorrow this board could all of a sudden have a change of heart that we're going to offer that up as a cell phone
But it would
tower
have
site.
to be overridden by the state if that's
No,
what
it
I'm
wouldn't.
hearing you say.
No.
I think that's why there's so many questions.
This
that were
is,
brought
and
up
this
in
is
the
a question
workshop.
that I see what you're saying, but the Hudson Highlands Land Trust had this argument with the board at that meeting at Haldane. Gloria's asked me about the sale of the property. We would, in my mind, it's already parkland, but the community doesn't see it that way, at least certain parts of it.
In the master plan in 1991,
Yeah.
that's what it was referred to as,
Yeah.
right? But what I'm curious about too, like this would have been a question I would email to Mindy, but what is the tax situation? Are there taxes we pay on this
No.
property?
It's tax exempt,
It's tax exempt either way.
yes.
If it's turned over to OSI, it's still
Tax
tax
exempt,
exempt.
yes.
Because I want to hear a little bit more. I think we need a financial analyst to give us a little information, just so we see the advantages, disadvantage
Of
financially.
what?
I understand the environmental appeal of the idea of
Mhm.
hooking up again with OSI for that 4 acres, but I haven't heard any financial information.
In terms
So
of?
the financial analyst, I'm just sort of
I'm being facetious.
No,
I don't
well,
think
that's
we can
obvious.
afford we can't afford those either. We can't afford too much. But I'm just saying, like, those are things that I have questions about, which we don't have to take time up now, because I will email you the questions and so.
Any other questions?
I will say, I mean, even now I'm still confused just listening to this same conversation, this conversation that you all just had about, and about whether it can be sold, right? So on the one hand, I heard you say that it's considered parkland because it's been treated as parkland for 20 years.
That's
for it
my
to be
opinion.
sold. Okay,
Mhm.
so, and it was the opinion of, I mean, when this first issue came up was when it was put up to be a possible site for the cell tower, and
The
the woman
issue-
from the Hudson Highlands Land Trust got
Yeah.
up and said really to do this would really be almost impossible. It's considered parkland. That would be a very difficult thing to do. To
Which,
repeat what you just said.
which the reaction though at that time when that statement was made was the former mayor took the village attorney and decided he was going to fight that statement.
So that's so I don't want to.
Mhm.
I want to.
But that's hearsay.
No, it absolutely is not. It's a
If
fact.
he's not here, Michael, you can't.
Gloria, I
say
was in the
it's
room.
hearsay.
It's a fact.
Well, so I just to my lack of understanding is so if you take the position, right, one could take the position that it's been considered parkland for 20 years as a result for it to be sold. Some would contend that it would take some action on the part of the state and then a referendum by the village, right?
To sell it.
To me, to sell it.
Yes.
Which to me, that argument has actually always been really quite convincing, personally. So given that, I'm not opposed to having the Open Space Institute to allow them to I actually can't even remember the right term. I'm not sure why. And it's not clear to me.
And we're
yet.
going to
That's
have
what
the
I'm saying.
audio of the public workshop that we had last Wednesday up on the website, and they explained that ad nauseum.
If you do the conservation easement, then you don't have to worry about these questions coming up about.
See, the
somebody
problem,
saying, "Let's go
the
to
problem with
the
answering
conservation
these questions is it is really right now a matter of opinion. Until the easement is put on it,
Gotcha.
it's whoever sits up on this dais can make the decision. Right now, I don't want to speak for anybody, but I think the majority of us feel that it's parkland. You could have 5 people up here who think that it's.
Excuse me, but I don't think your Facebook friends, the 50 or so people who showed up at the workshop, that's not the village. There's an awful lot of people who have no clue what you're talking about. I'm trying to catch up to speed here, but I can tell you, in my day-to-day travels, people have no idea. They have no idea about the piece of property, what the discussion is. I think you're going to have to do a little better job
Joe,
of reaching out.
I don't want to insult you. Just please maintain the level of decorum. They're not my Facebook friends. I didn't know half the people that were in the room last Wednesday.
Oh, my God.
So, anyway.
Well, they're Facebook friends of each other. I don't know if you even are on Facebook. I have no clue. I'm just saying, I think only a few people have a clue about what's going on.
It has to be more.
I don't know how much more we can educate the public other than having public workshops, being as transparent as possible that we can, answering every single question, staying here, literally answering 5 or 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 questions over and over again.
That's a public official's position. That's why.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
How much more transparent and how much more educational to the public can we be?
I'd like to see.
I've been on the flip side. I know what it's like to sit there and snipe at the public official and try to get them to trip up and do all that. It's a fun game.
Trying to do that.
Yes, you are. Come on, let's just be honest.
It's not sniping.
Anybody? No. I'll be honest.
Why?
The statement you just made was kind of snippy. But anyway,
I can be that way.
To bring us back to the lawsuit, which has
Yes.
not been mentioned.
yes.
So my question is, and I have a sense, perhaps my, conjuring of something here, but the reason why these acres are coming up is because, so does Verizon need to purchase the land from the village, or can they go in and use whatever the Telecommunications Act of 1996 to somehow, is there...
Have it-
That was brought up at
Under what
the.
basis are they actually
Yeah.
seeking to
The
come in here?
easement
I didn't
gives
even-
us the most concrete defense towards any kind of eminent domain or anything like that.
The lawyers talked about that at last week's workshop. That
Oh, I passed it by on the way to Beacon, and I was wondering if I missed the meeting, so I...
no, but it's a
Second
good
one.
question.
Oh,
So we had that same question, and they reassured us that in the future, if an issue of eminent domain comes up, that this conservation easement would give us an added layer of protection to fight any questions of eminent domain.
So it's not an absolute protection, it just means that there is a way for them to spend more village's money to fight it in court. Because the way I'm looking at it, it's not an absolute guarantee that they can't come, or at least raise the argument.
Well, we're talking hypotheticals. At this stage of history right now,
They can't
it won't happen.
by eminent domain.
Who knows what the Congress passes in 10 or 15 or 20 years that says that it's mandated, national defense, that you cannot deny or withhold property. We might have cell towers on the top of Bull Hill. Who knows?
I mean, obviously this is not my area of expertise, and this is just something that came up into my head. Is it something that is done and for all, or is it just something that gives you, like you said, an extra layer of protection, but it doesn't really foreclose the argument from being made? Because, Verizon is a national company. You're not the only village being sued. And it's sort of, it could be that there are some positions out there where
The lawsuit
they're not
right now
fully
has
favorable.
nothing to do with this piece of property. It has to do with Rockledge. This was identified as part of that process, and I think our ultimate goal is to make sure that future board members or future generations don't have to have the same kind of fight when it comes to this piece of this parcel here, or the parcel on Gatehouse that OSI is looking to gift us to. Anybody else? Kenny?
Yeah, I just want to ask again, which I've asked before. I missed the meeting on Wednesday the 13th. I didn't know there was going to be a meeting. And I know I'm told that it's in the paper on the Wednesday before. I don't know if it was the week before. Anyway, on Friday I picked up the local paper to read about Morante, this and that, and I'm switching to when I saw that I missed an important meeting on the 13th. I requested it before, and I thought it would happen is that I know when I get emails, even from my old school, when one of my peers passed away, someone sends out an email, and it's nothing. The secretary just sends it because they already have everybody's name or email address. And I've requested it before that they have an email so that you just have to hit the button. You just have to hit the button and you can it's just getting all those emails together that's work. And I don't want to put more work on you. But I would have, I check my emails every
Because
day.
they all come back. Take me off, take me off, take me off, take me off. And
No,
then you
that's
reply to
fine.
all. It's
That's
crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I mean, right now we
I
do.
didn't check the website every day to look for it.
Right
I'm
now,
just saying,
it's on the website, it's on Facebook, it's posted on the front door of Village
The only thing
Hall,
I'm saying
it's
is,
in the newspaper.
did you post that meeting in the week before you had the meeting?
And always in my windows too, I hang signs also. And the workshop is always the
Well, the
same Wednesday. And workshops are always open.
Workshops on a Wednesday, the board meeting is
On
on a
Monday.
I finally got it
So
down.
the workshops
Are always open. Yeah, you're welcome to come and listen. They might not always be interesting, but they're always
I
open.
still, if it's that important, I'd like to, I would think that we could do that.
I don't think right now anything isn't important.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah, I
too
mean,
much important going on.
I understand what you're saying.
I
There
mean,
have
I
been,
don't understand.
there have been issues with email lists too, where, you know, the town.
Yeah, we can try it again in the new year.
Yeah,
I
the
tried
town
it
has
last
an email
year.
list
And I
that,
think it would be something that would be easy enough to do. I'm not asking for something that people don't have in this, what year we're into, 2019. I'm just saying, I'm remiss, it's me, I missed it, it's on me, but I'm asking that I think you should be able to put an email out so people don't have to necessarily go to a Facebook. I could just I read my emails every day on the phone, first thing in the morning. And I would have known that, but it's my fault. I'm not blaming anyone. I just think you should have that as a form of communication to let people know there's an important meeting. And I am happy that I came to this meeting. I'm happy to hear that you want to secure and lock up 4 acres for the future generation. And I think that's very important. So that puts a smile on my face. Thank you.
So I appreciate very much. Oh, I never see my name. Peggy Clements, 11 Wood Avenue. I appreciate very much what it's like to be on the other side of the table. You're not communicating, and the Board of Education says, we videotape our meetings, they're posted the next day, we have all of our documents on board decks. I do really understand where you're sitting, right, and you've had these open meetings, and you've posted them, and there's been, like, really diligent efforts to communicate about this. I will also say that I've been involved with this relatively closely from the beginning. I was on the ZBA, I went to all those meetings, I've been coming to town hall meetings, and I expressed a really sincere lack of understanding tonight. Not because I'm stupid, not because I haven't been paying attention, not because I'm being a jerk, but because I really don't understand exactly what's going on. And even now I'm hearing different information, where at one point it was like, definitely it'll go up before the village, a referendum if we're going to do that, and tonight I heard, well, no, not necessarily. So I really, I don't think you guys are invested, I think you are, let me say it, I think you are invested in the community understanding, but there's still some real roadblock to that happening, and I don't know what the solution is. You know,
roadblock to what happened?
To understanding, to folks understand exactly where we are, right?
Well, the problem, I mean, it is frustrating.
It's a complex system problem.
And so maybe that's the issue. Maybe you all don't have all the answers now, but like
I
mean,
think
what I hear right now is,
we're getting close.
yeah. So what I'm hearing right now is that if people want to understand it better, really what you need to do is you'll post the audio recording.
So we had a workshop last Wednesday where we had our trail steward from OSI, Will Nevis, who works with us closely, and we had the OSI general counsel here. We were supposed to have our village attorney here. He has a health issue. He didn't show up. So they answered, I mean, round after round after round of questions. I think we were pretty clear about what the status of the property is currently, what it would be under the easement. There were 2 different things discussed. There was a memorandum of understanding, which needs to be signed in order for them to undertake a $28,000 survey of the property, which is the next step. And then there was a draft easement agreement for the 4 acres and for a 1.7, 1.8 acre parcel off of Gatehouse Road. They're independent of each other.
And we gave out those copies of those.
Yeah, we can give you those tonight if you want.
Okay, actually, I would,
yeah. We still have those, right?
Oh, yeah.
I still have a bunch here, too.
Right.
But just even after that meeting, after round after round after round, there were still being false statements being made that we're selling a piece of property or we're giving away the future of it and that kind of stuff. Yes. So, and that's where we're coming from, is that people have a certain view of an issue that even when you show them the facts in black and white will still hold that, you know, that thought process. And that's kind of what the most frustrating part is. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I do. I completely understand. And I guess what I also hear is that the board is still also really figuring it out. And I trust that you all, at one point, there will be like a systematic explanation of the next steps in why.
Yeah.
And so, thank you. That's all.
Gloria.
I just want to piggyback on what Peggy said. Being on a board for a number of years, it is very frustrating, and I know what you're going through. But as I said, and I'll repeat myself again, this is the time the board can bring this community together and we can communicate to people in terms, this is why we have to do this, people, for our community. This is why, in layman's terms, so they understand it. And I know, like, the gentleman uses the initials, I can't get it on the
CCA.
No, like acronyms.
Yeah, three-letter acronyms.
Yeah, some people,
TLS.
they don't know and they're too embarrassed. And, I could think of some people who live right near me wouldn't know what he was talking about tonight when he was speaking. People don't want to raise their hands. And just like with this property, I was happy to hear him tonight. I think differently about this now, but it's in your hands to bring the community together and what is the benefit. And I know Joe is being facetious.
Gloria, the flip side of that, though, is as elected officials, and you know this better than anyone, you cannot make everyone happy. And what I think is best for the village might not be what you think is best. And,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
we're each different.
But I'm being as open and as transparent about it, and I hope you respect that.
I just hope you are, Mike. It bothers me that Bob Lusardi's not involved because the history that he has as our attorney is something.
No,
He's
Bob-
involved.
Bob
involved.
Bob was on the phone Wednesday night with Mindy right before
Okay, good.
the meeting with OSI just to make sure that everything was copacetic.
Because that's something you can't even put a dollar amount on, the history of an attorney for a number of years.
I was going to agree. You can't make everyone happy.
Yeah.
I know you can make many people informed, and I agree that people miss a meeting or things happen. But the reason I even knew about any of these issues is that the previous board, I guess, I think, or 2 boards ago, put in an ad in the paper, in both papers, to mention this public meeting, important, whatever. That's when I first heard about, the Secor Street property and the possibility of exploring it as a possible site for the cell phone tower. That's when I think the highway department garage was brought up. So that was well attended, including by people who don't pay taxes to Nelsonville, many people who don't. But I think that was helpful, and I think maybe that's what Peggy and I are trying to get across, that I personally know a lot of people who just aren't on board, they have no idea what's going on, and I think they're going to resent that if they don't have a little bit of a,
I would hope
You put that in the paper, though, Mindy, didn't you?
Which?
Yes, last
The
week's
notice of the
workshop.
meeting.
Yeah, we noticed the workshop as
No, Joe's talking about like taking out a quarter-page ad or something,
No,
which
we-
is
we can't-
it's
no.
cost prohibitive.
well, I'm
Number
just
one.
saying, isn't that, did they do that? I don't know, I'm sort of remembering.
Yeah,
maybe
I think they did for the Haldane meeting that time.
That's what I'm thinking. That certainly caught
But,
a lot
I
of
mean,
attention. I don't think you want.
I think with or without that article in the paper, that meeting was going to have hundreds of people there.
Because that was not only Nelsonville, that was Cold Spring,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Huge.
just like the meeting last week, I see maybe 4, 5 faces. The room was filled, but those other people didn't come. I mean, is it just a one show we're interested in?
I don't know.
Bad
Joe said that
control.
there's dozens of people in the community that you speak to that, where were they for the meeting?
I think the
tried
big
to get them here.
big meeting that everyone's talking about was because Haldane School put the word out through
Yeah.
all the kids.
Yeah. Right.
To get everybody in.
Yeah.
And the superintendent, I think, wrote a letter.
Yeah.
She wrote
Yes.
a lot.
Yeah, that was quite a circumstance. So.
I know you probably put it in where, in the paper where it says meeting for this week, but when it's an important meeting, if you could put it like someplace other, because I have a computer, but I'm never on it except for to play games when I'm at work. So if it wasn't for my daughter noticing it on Facebook, we wouldn't have even known there was a meeting last week. And I'm sure there's a lot of other older citizens who don't use their computer. They don't see Facebook and stuff. And they're not going to come out and just go over to the door to look on the door to see if there's a meeting.
Well, there's the calendar we put out once a year shows every single workshop. There's one workshop a month and one meeting a month.
But I'm saying if it's an important...
They're all important.
I
right
find
now,
it,
they're all
I gotta
important.
be honest. I
can't
understand
go
what you're
knocking on
saying.
doors and
But I
inviting
have to be
people.
honest, all right?
And
Having
the
been
paper
born
only
and
comes
raised
out
in
once a week.
Hold on. Having been born and raised in this community and knowing the way this community works, an important meeting, your word of mouth is more powerful than any newspaper. So everybody in this village knew that meeting was happening. I mean,
I didn't
I
know
don't
until
see-
the day before.
Kenny is the only one that is here who missed the meeting last week because he didn't know about it. I don't see, Mindy, how many,
She didn't know about it.
And I
There's a
use my
lot of
computer
them.
all the time. I wish I could throw it away.
But you don't look at the Nelsonville Facebook page or
I
the
don't know.
Nelsonville webpage.
next time we have a meeting on Secor, I'll go door to door and
We
let
don't
everybody
want
know.
we don't want our board members making a decision about what they think is important and what's not important. I mean, I'm going to speak up for the village board right now. The board publicly notices every single meeting. There's agendas on the website. I mean, they're really.
I wish we could afford what the school board has, because I mean, it's the most incredible system. I mean, stuff is like real time. It's like,
Yeah, but you could. I mean, you could do something like that with a Google site, but it
Yeah.
does. It's more. It's,
well, we do it with YouTube and,
yeah.
you know, Wix is our website editor. I think we do a pretty good job.
I don't know. It's hard.
Yes.
I mean, they do notice it. We don't want the village board making a decision about when they want to tell us to come and when they want to tell us not to come.
That's bad. That's bad.
It's just our understanding
Two
that
meetings a month.
Wednesday and the following Monday are important meetings. Be here. I mean, that's
Once a month.
And to your credit, you do post the agenda on the village website.
Yeah.
So people can see.
And
we-
the village
do they wanna
Facebook
come?
and we
page.
try to get it out there the Friday before so that everyone's got time to see it and as per open meetings law and all of that. Anybody else? Thanks for hanging out. Is there a motion to close the meeting?
Motion to close the meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you.